Welcome back to another episode of Six Pack Pressures. My name's Coach Vass, aka Coach Vass, and let's get into this week's blitzes. Number 6, the Colts bring a 3-week fire zone with the linebacker rushing, 5-man rush with a 3-man twist away from the running back and a 2-man twist between the D end and the linebacker to the side of the running back. Here's the 3-man twist. You're gonna get out, around. To the side of the back, you're gonna get a TE stunt with the backer acting as the tackle. He's gonna pick and go through and contain. The D end's gonna wrap around, and this is the result. The offensive line tries a 3-man block, the 3-man load side over here, leaving the guard and the tackle to be man here and here. The backer's gonna check and then release, which puts some real pressure on the O-line. And you can see they have a problem picking up the 3-man game. Number 5. This was actually run last week, but I didn't get a chance to include the Monday night games, and it was too good to leave out, so I figured I'd throw it in for this week. The Bengals here play cover 0 with a low hole rat player. They sack Stafford for an 8-yard loss here on 2nd and 10 in 2 minutes. Just another great pressure design. Teams are being really aggressive this year, and I love it. It's great for this channel. The Bengals here line up in a load front with the bigs away from the back, the backers to the back, and an extra DB walked up off the edge. The Bengals end up bringing everybody except for the A-gap linebacker who drops. He ends up playing as a rat in the hole, and the reason that they're able to do that is because this DB coming off the edge will peel if the back flares. He ends up staying in the protection to block, and they just don't have enough guys. The Rams end up sliding to the bigs here. The right guard is stuck blocking the backer. The tackle has to take the end. The back steps up. There's nobody for the edge player, and this is the result. This is a key coaching point I see a lot on these bluff blitzes. Watch this backer here. He's going to act like he's going, which draws the guard. With that happening, he is not able to see that there's nothing happening to the left and then try to bang back out to this tackle or try to figure something out. And the Rams are stuck with a 2-on-1 off the edge. I see so many guys trying to bluff and their players drop out at the snap. And a lot of the times it's because it's cover 3 and they have to get depth. And then the line is able to adjust and do something like this where they block out, he goes back out. Well, he's actually already on this tackle, rather on the D end, and then the back can work back out to try to block the edge. It's a huge coaching point, and I see some teams that don't do it, and then they wonder why their blitzes don't work. Number 4, I sound like a broken record. I promise I'm not. Here's the Vikings with Bengal Hawk once again. I've talked about it every week. 2nd and 17 here on the high red zone going in, and the Vikings end up forcing a fumble, scooping, and scoring. This should have been higher on the list, but again, I feel bad just making the same blitz every week as number 1, but I can't keep it off the list when it keeps working like this. And you're gonna see how this sets up something later on in the game in a few plays. For the new viewers, here is Bengal Hawk. The A and B gap rushers are going to rush if the slide goes away from them. If the slide goes to them, they will drop. And the C-gap players will rush off the edge. The C-gap player to the running back will be a little bit more conscious of grabbing the tackle, so the safety off the edge can't get blocked as well. This safety will take the back if he flares and keep rushing if he blocks. You can see here the Panthers slide to the defensive left. So 90 and 40 drop out. The right side keeps going. Harrison Smith is unblocked. He forces a fumble by Bryce. And there's the result. Big, thick 6. It looks like the Panthers try to half slide this and bring the back across. Bryce Young needs to know where his hot is, and he needs to get rid of the ball. He has to hold it, and this is the result. I just don't understand how teams haven't tried to figure out a different way to block this. And now for something a little different, the Panthers bring an odd front fire zone to the 2-man side and empty, which is a great way to attack. Can run weak side rotation, cover 3, play out the 3 receiver side however you want. Especially good to the 2 receiver side because you don't have to worry about getting chipped like you do on the other side. This pressure is a great example of how to attack away from your best pass rusher. I know Luvu's had a good year, but most of the time people are going to be game planning around Brian Burns, number 0 to the right. You can see they do that with the chip here by Madison, but the odd structure forces the Vikings to go man protection with double fan. So the guard and the tackle are going to step out. Madison has the chip and release. The center's going to lock onto the nose here. You can't really see him. The guard and the tackle are going to take 50 and 49. Technically, one of these guards is supposed to pick up 21, but the problem is both edge rushers start to go. Burns eventually drops, but his initial rush keeps the guard and the tackle in a fan, and Jeremy Chin is able to come straight up the gut and get a sack on Cousins. It is really hard to block that pressure, and it's a great design by E.J. Evero. Number 2. Brian Flores brings a cover 3 simulated pressure off the edge with the game on the line. 4th and goal from the 18. He brings out a pressure that he ran in the second quarter, which I will show you in a second. Masterful design. The Vikings get the sack. Game over. The Vikings are in their Bengal look. They have 7 up, and what could have been a tip-off to Bryce Young is, to my knowledge, I could be wrong, if the Vikings were going to bring an all-out pressure like their hawk pressure, with Harrison Smith here off the edge, with no running back, and he would have to come out and cover in man. So when I first saw this presentation, I thought, something's a little up here. I ended up guessing right, because the Vikings end up simulating this. They bring Hunter and Smith from the right, they bring Hicks and Davenport from the left, and everybody else drops out with 3 deep underneath. What's interesting about this is the Panthers try to run half slide protection to their right, defensive left, which I don't quite understand. Harrison Smith has been blitzing off the edge ever since he's been in the league. He had a strip sack that went for a touchdown earlier. He's the key to all this, just like Javon Holland was the key to all of it at the Dolphins, and they decide to slide away from him. Here's another look at the wide copy. You can see the distribution here, the underneath droppers. This is 4th and goal to go, so they got to get it to the end zone, but he doesn't have enough time. Harrison Smith gets a sack. Game over. Vikings get their first win. Here's a snap of the same pressure on 3rd and 7 in the second quarter. The Vikings bluff out and run their sim. The Panthers try and run a screen, and they're all over it. I mean, just a fantastic call. After all the heat he's been bringing. If this one's this good, what could be number 1? Number 1! The Jaguars get a sack on what might be my favorite pressure of the year so far, showing a load front to the quarterback's right, away from the running back, and bringing the nickel underneath with an eyes pressure, 2 under, 3 deep, sacking Desmond Ridder for a 15-yard loss across the pond. This pressure is just fantastic. The concept is great. The timing of the blitz, the disguise, just everything about it is just amazing. Scot-free, just like you drew it up, with your best pass rusher right outside the edge rusher. Jacksonville bluffs up a backer and a safety over here with their 3 bigs to the right side. So the offense is going to slide to them. What ends up happening here is Bijan is going to step up, and he's probably given number 23 based on where he lines up and looks and inserts himself. The right guard here is going to block 48. You can see the guard here is dragging, vertical setting back, stop signs with both hands out. Really what should happen here in a perfect world, and this is really, really tough stuff, is Robinson should go to step up, C23 drop. The guard's going to stay on 48. As his guy drops, he's going to look across at the nickel and pick it up. But again, this is so tough. The Jaguars end up running a lion path with the defensive end upfield, the nickel coming underneath. Trey Herndon here just times it to perfection. There's not a lot you can do there. If it's timed perfectly and run with speed, it is a really, really difficult situation that the Falcons are in. Let's go back. You could say here that the left tackle should see the nickel coming. I know maybe he should step down and let Josh Allen, but you're going to let Josh Allen on a free run on your quarterback. Plus, if Bijan Robinson here is supposed to play Mike to the nickel or Will to the nickel, that's a really tough ask, and he should be taking Allen. Man, what a great pressure. I feel like an absolute hypocrite here, leaving this blitz on to the honorable mentions, but there was just so much good stuff, and the Rams kind of mess it up a little bit, so I did knock it down, but I feel like a hypocrite because a variation of this And the Chargers the other week got the #1 spot. Here the Rams are going to run a simulated version of the load pressure. Aaron Donald takes an inside move, which ends up losing the edge, and Richardson's able to scramble. Again, that's why I dropped it down. Let's look at the end zone here. The two backers are going to read this guard. The guard steps down. 53 is going to go. The guard steps out. He's going to go. Donald has to stay outside here. And then everything else is pretty much a straight rush. You're going to see 97 drop out here to create the 4-man underneath. The back steps up. Donald's got to stay outside and make that play. The Colts half slide away from Aaron Donald, which is, I don't know, that's not a winning business model in my book. But I guess because he's a defensive end out here, maybe they thought, let's just slide away from him because there's 3 bigs over here. And this is really the thing that the load front gives offenses. It gives them a problem. Do you slide to the 3 bigs here, or do you slide to one of the best defensive linemen in the history of the NFL? I don't know. But it ends up working out for the Colts because they slide away from him, which Donald is now able to take that inside move. If they slide out to him, maybe that's not the case. Here the Vikings make the list again. This is an old favorite of the Belichick-Saban world called Eagle Blitz. All it is going to be a double edge rush, cover 0. The difference here is the linebacker sees the back go across to block the edge. He knows that with all that pressure, he's not going to have time to check release and get outside. So he's just kind of rat at the sticks, or not really the sticks, rat around the 5-yard line. The Vikings are able to cover for long enough where they get the sack. Let's watch from the end zone. You can just see the lines pinching. Pretty straightforward blitz. Great high school blitz for any high school coaches watching. It also looks like there may be a read twist on. You can watch both guys attack the center. The slide is going this way. So if the slide's away from me, I create the pick. If the slide is to me, I'm going to be the looper. I can't believe I'm saying this, but the Broncos are going to make the list here. It's hard not to when you take one to the house. This is just a simple saw fire zone, double edge, odd front in here. The Bears don't block the edge. The edge player comes right upfield, knocks the ball out of Fields' hand, jumps right into the defender's arms, and he takes it to the house. You can see here, Nick Bonito, it just kind of comes into his hands. I mean, he's coming off the edge. He takes a nice wide path. He's able to get Fields when his arm's going back. The ball damn near jumps into Jonathan Cooper's lap, and he takes it to the house for a touchdown. Last week, I started the whip fire zone section, and I said that it can be run as a 3-deep fire zone, a 3-deep simulated pressure, or cover 1 pressure, bringing 5 people. But here's something I haven't seen, I think, ever, and that is whip with quarters. The backer away from the running back is going to blitz. We'll talk about the path in the front here in a second. The outside backer to the running back is going to drop. You can see press quarters up top, and then off quarters on the bottom. This may be palms or straight quarters. Palms being the variation where if 2 goes out at or under 5 yard, the corner will come off and the safety will play over the top. This is just awesome. Broncos making the list again. Just great, great stuff. Here's the end zone copy. The 3 technique's gonna pinch in the A gap. The back is gonna hit the B. The end's coming off the edge, outside backer rather. He runs around, gets a sack. Easy pickings for the Broncos here. The Bills made the list last week running this pressure, and here they are against the Dolphins down in the low red area. Great timing of the blitz here. Tackle has to step down, and the end comes off the edge. The Bills do a great job here in coverage. The tackle's going to spike to the B gap. Matt Milano's going to hit this thing on the run. Flying Frenchman Gregory Rousseau is going to come off the edge. The Dolphins here in scat protection, so the back is free releasing. You know what that means. The tackle has to step down and block the blitzer, which means the edge player is free. Tua's got to get the ball out of his hands, but he's covered close by Micah Hyde. He actually had a pick on this last week. He's forced to pull it down, and the Bills get a sack. Here are the Eagles running the pressure with man behind it. We're going to get a top hat situation at the bottom, where the corner's going to play the guy off the ball. The DB behind is going to play on the ball. I think they may be both corners here. Can't quite see the numbers, but let's roll it. The important thing is the backer is going to add. He's going to add a little slow. And then the backer over here, because it's man, can add on as well. It's a little delayed. The pass rush gets there. Let's watch this from the end zone view. You can see the edge rushers just meet the quarterback. But it's a whip, it got a sack, it's got to make the list. That's the rules that I just made up. Here are the Titans running the same blitz with the same sack, same coverage and everything. You can see 51 in the circle right there, just runs the hump and gets a sack. Great job by the Titans. They also ran this last week against the Browns, I think. Yeah, it was that goofy protection the Browns had. Great play there. Here we go, last play. Had to get Khalil Mack on the list. 6 sacks in one game. A lot of his sacks were not on pressures. I wanted to include him more, but it's the whole thing is 6-pack pressures. But the Chargers run whip with man. And you can see the slide. Part of the great thing about this call is you're running it away from the slide. So with Mack out here, especially with the game he's having, this isn't too far into the game, but it's still Khalil Mack. With this front, you're expecting the Raiders to 4-man slide, make a Roger call. The back is going to be on the inside backer. The tackle's going to man up the defensive end or edge player over here. And that's what you're expecting. That's why a lot of guys like to run this to the back for pass protection purposes, run it away from the back for run to puncture the B gaps. You can start to see a theme here. The Chargers are running a twist inside towards the backer blitz, and that gives you a 4 to a side effect. There's no point in this 3 technique keep going anyway because he's supposed to slant. So the nose starts to cross face. He's going to add back around, and the line has to really pass this off or you're going to get 4 from the side, 45 over here. Raiders do a great job of blocking it. They just can't block Khalil Mack. And there you go with the sack, fumble, and a 4-yard loss. Thanks so much for joining me again on another episode of the 6-Pack Pressures. If you liked the video, leave us a like and smash that subscribe button. Don't forget to turn the bell on for notifications. And also, don't forget, the quarterback can't see with tears in their eyes.